Well, the sun still beats down and the wind still blows on the fast 1 mile oval in Syracuse, New York. And starting on the pole position for our National Auto Supply 358 Modified Championship is Matt Quinn in the Adam Ross Cutstone number 44. Will Matt be able to hold off all the top modified runners behind him? We'll find out.
Thank you, Brian Spaid, Andy Fusco, and Tom Skibinski back here at Syracuse for part 2 of our triple header. This one is the 358 Modified. It's the National Auto Supply 358 Modified Championship. Tom, some familiar names in the top spot of this one.
Well, Andy, looking at the starting grid, almost the entire top 10 made up of big block modified pilots, including Brett Hearn, Kenny Tremont, Kenny Brightbill, Alan Johnson, and Kevin Collins.
And one of those modified pilots, Matt Quinn, is on the pole. Here's Brian Spaid with Quinn.
Matt, congratulations on a great run in today's heat. That puts you on the pole. Any thoughts?
We've been having the car here all week and running with the modifieds, and the track time made a big difference. And today the track just came round to the car and to us.
Now this is really the first time you've done extremely well on the mile. You've got to be pretty happy.
Yeah, like anything else, it takes experience. You know, this is I've been up here for a while, and now everything's just starting to come together. My crew's put a lot of hard work into getting us up here and getting it done right.
Now you got a lot of strong guys behind you, so what's your strategy?
Just wait and see. It's so hard to pass out here. You almost have to make your passes right from the start and just stay there. So we'll just see how it goes.
Quinn and Hearn make up the front row of this one. Second row, Kenny Tremont, Chris Tuthill. Third row, Marty Knoll and Mike Rickey. In the fourth row, Kenny Brightbill and Alan Johnson. Fifth row, Kyle Rock and Kevin Collins. Sixth row, Steve Gragan and Donnie Wetmore. The seventh row is Danny Johnson and Howie Finch. The eighth row, Jim Chenette and Craig Ormsby. Let's go down to our outside pole sitter, who's with Brian.
Brett, on the outside pole, Matt Quinn can be tough, can he?
Well, yeah, he's a hard runner. I know he'll take it in deep in the first turn. I think it's going to match the old 320 motor, which he has, against the new 358. Our car's a little lighter than his, and hopefully that'll make the difference when we get to speed here on the front straightaway.
Brett, starting on the outside, is that a disadvantage?
Yeah, I think I'd almost rather start third than I would second. With the track and the groove being a little bit narrow still, I do think that's a bit of a disadvantage.
Can you win today's race?
I think we can, yeah. As long as we stay together and it's a good, clean race, and we're going to run it hard right to the end. And if the car's capable, we'll be there.
Kenny, 2 years ago you won this race. You come here starting third, not too bad.
No, we'll take it. Naturally we'd like to start first, but we're about a half a second slow compared to Hearn and Matt Quinn. So we'll take third and see what happens during the race.
Is Matt a surprise to you running that fast?
No, not really. He's got a good engine. In fact, he has the engine in his car that I had last year and the year before. It's a good engine, so it's not really a surprise.
Kenny, now, is this the same car you won with a couple years ago?
No, this isn't. This is a car we won with at Rolling Wheels at the end of last year, and we won a race at Lebanon Valley with it, the qualifier race to come here. It's a 2-year-old car.
Do you feel it can be just as strong as that other car?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's just as strong, and we've just got to work on getting the car to handle a little bit better.
Kenny Tremont won this race 2 years ago. The defending champion is Brett Hearn. We've already developed the top 8 rows. Starting 17th, Mike Perotti, then Rick Wilson, Bob Lyman, Steve Botcher, Danny O'Brien, Newt Hartman, Harry Sittler, Ken Gilmore, Rich Rickey Jr., Bob Savoy, Fritz Eppright, Roger Lalonde, Jeff Hetzler, Billy Pouch, and Bud Chrisman. And the green flag from Gaston Salves is out. And our leader, Matt Quinn, in the 44. But there's Brett Hearn diving to the inside in turn number 1. Quinn shuts the door. Quinn, our leader. Hearn is second. In third place with a good view of the action, that's Kenny Tremont. Cars go down single file down the back straightaway. Matt Quinn leading. He's surprised people all week long with the way he's been running both the big block and the small block classes, Tom.
Yeah, for the time trials on Wednesday, Matt Quinn drove 3 cars, qualified all 3 in the top 26. That's amazing. Some guys would kill to just qualify 1 car in the top 30. Matt Quinn, 3 cars in the top 26. That's including 2 big blocks and 1 small block here at the Moody Mile.
I had an opportunity to talk to him earlier today. He says that he's gotten so much better in mile racing because he took the Buck Baker Super Speedway driving school earlier this summer at Rockingham, North Carolina. He says that's made him a much better mile driver, and it sure has showed this week. You're right, Tom. At portions of the qualifying on Wednesday, he had 3 cars in the top 6 at various stages during the going. Right now, he's up front in the Goey number 44, the Adam Cut Ross number 44. Quinn just acquiring this ride late last year. Brian Goey, who had been its driver, decided that he was going to work a little more in the company business. Ken Goey Dodge down in Hose, New York, near Troy, and drive a little bit less. Goey's had a couple of outings this year in his own car, the number 10. that he also decided that this year he wouldn't drive all that often and hand over the reins to somebody else. His brother, Casey Goey, is the crew chief in this Quinn number 44. Whoa, there's a wheel off in turn number 3. We've got some action already, and the yellow flag is out. Tom, who's lost that wheel up there in turn number 3?
Well, Andy, you talk about bad luck drivers here at the Moody Mile. That's the number 32 of Kevin Collins trying to hand the small block here in Syracuse.
Tough break for Collins. He was running in 10th position. He was comfortably in 10th. And it's hard to tell from our angle whether there was contact that cost him that wheel or whether it just came up of its own volition. Again, we developed earlier in the sprint car race that the track conditions are not all that smooth here this year at Super Dirt Week at Syracuse, so it's not surprising that drivers will have wheels and other components come loose. Tough break early in the going for Kevin Collins. The field now bunched together for the restart. Quinn in the 44, Hearn in the 6. Both of those are Ford Thunderbird bodies from the Teal Fabrication Shop. Remember, on the first restart of this event, Quinn got the early advantage, and right now he's got a half car length on Hearn as they go into turn number 3. These cars will be officially getting the green flag as they come out of turn number 4, but right now they're under speed, and Brett Hearn has driven around Matt Quinn on the restart. Tom Skibinski, we've got a new leader here at the Moody Mile.
Brett Hearn looking for his second straight 358 National Auto Supply Championship here in the Moody Mile. Only Pete McNell has won 2 events here. Brett Hearn looking to win his 3rd small block championship here during Super Dirt Week 90.
Amazing how restarts were the story of that first race where the cars start on the back straightaway under sprint car rules. Here under modified rules where they start up between turns 3 and 4, Brett Hearn looks to have just snookered Matt Quinn. It looked like he let Quinn get a half lap or half a car length advantage. When Quinn slowed just a bit to let him go back side by side, that's all that Hearn needed to just open up. And we now see 15 car lengths.
Well, Andy, that's kind of interesting. It's like the teacher showing the pupil the way around the classroom there. Brett Hearn just kind of waited patiently, took off on the restart, leaving Matt Quinn to wonder what's going to happen next.
7 down in this one. Hearn's the leader. Quinn is second. Kenny Tremont is third. Rick McKee's Jr. fourth. Tuthill fifth. Alan Johnson just got by Kenny Brightbill. Then comes Brightbill, and up in 8th position now, Danny Johnson. Danny Johnson started way back in about 14th or 15th. He's already making the charge up through the field, Tom.
It's interesting to notice that you've been mentioning all these big block modified names, Hearn and Danny and Alan, but one car missing, a past champion here in the 358 modified championship is Doug Hoffman. That's kind of interesting. He elected to prepare for his modified race on Sunday.
Yeah, I can tell you the fact that all this, the modified drivers are dominating here is not something that's particularly favored by the small block drivers, and they've kind of stayed away from this one. That's kind of a tough break because this is a race that's intended for them. And whoa, spin up there in turn number 3. That's Rick Wilson, the number 24, one of the Can-Am stars. Bob Lyman spins to avoid him. Wilson is able to get away. Lyman is incapacitated up there in turn number 3, and that will bring out the yellow from Gaston Salvas. With the yellow out, our Brian Spaid is scurrying down to the Matt Quinn crew. Let's go down to Brian Spaid. He's with Casey Goey.
Casey, any word what's going on with Matt Quinn out there?
Well, Matt got jumped on the last start, but right now we can't hear anything he's saying. He can hear us fine, but we can't hear him at all.
So if there's a problem on the car, you won't be able to communicate?
Not right now.
Is it a problem that can be fixed?
I don't think there's a problem right now. Brett just caught him with his guard down a little bit. We'll see what we got for him a little later.
Okay, the field bunches up for the restart. Hearn and Quinn, the front row. Tremont and Ricky, row number 2. Tuthill and Alan Johnson, row number 3. Now, Johnson's in that white number 30. That's a different ride for him. Jeff Harrison usually runs that car down at the CVRA circuit, Albany, Saratoga, and Devil's Bowl. At the end of the season, they decided to bring that car out for some of the big money events, freshen it up. They put Jack Johnson behind the wheel of that car for the Victoria 200 at Fulton. He came in second a couple of weeks ago to Billy Pouch. Alan Johnson got the ride today because Jack Johnson wanted to concentrate on his big block, and there on the restart, Alan Johnson gets by Chris Tuthill. Alan Johnson already up into 5th place in that F number 30, a pickup ride that he's got into the top 5. The green flag is back out. Brett Hearn takes the lead. Matt Quinn in second, and now Kenny Tremont putting the pressure to a guy that he races with most every Saturday night down there at Lebanon Valley Speedway, Matt Quinn. And Tom, you got to respect the way that the Lebanon Valley runners run when they come here at Syracuse. They always get the job done.
Well, you know the story, Andy. It's been years that promoter Howie Commander from the Lebanon Valley has been putting a little prize money incentive for the Lebanon Valley regulars. And I'm sure the big block race will be a lot of the Lebanon Valley's regulars coming out.
There's also a surprise ride. That's Jeff Hetzler, who was added to the field as a guaranteed starter. He's got Sean George's backup car, and already he's slowing. Tough break for Hetzler. He was one of the fastest cars in this race last year, as you'll recall. Got into a crash trying to come back from the back of the pack after being sidelined. Already today, he's out of the action. Now back up front, Hearn extending his advantage over Quinn. Lebanon Valley regular Kenny Tremont in third place. And one of the reasons, undoubtedly, that the Lebanon Valley drivers do so well here at Syracuse is because the strong motors and the good brakes, the things that you need to get the job done at Lebanon Valley, are the precise things that you need the job done here at the Moody Mile. We've got Lebanon Valley drivers in second and third, and of course Brett Hearn this year, Tom, had a super year at Lebanon Valley.
4 wins this year for Brett Hearn, including the Skull Racing Super Dirt Series win. He beat Doug Hoffman there in the 90 lapper. He led from pole to checkered flag. That was one of his 20 big block wins on the dirt circuit this year.
Only 5 visits to Lebanon Valley this year for Hearn and 4 victories. The one that he didn't win, he ended up finishing third, and that was the Lebanon Valley 200. He darn near on that one. Lost it on the last lap coming out of turn number 4. Doug Hoffman was the winner, and Bob McCready also nipped Hearn. Hearn ended up third place, 4 wins and 1/3. Quite a season for the invader to the Lebanon Valley High Banks, Brett Hearn. Right now, he's far out in front of this one. Doesn't look to be having much trouble at all with this field time.
No, it looks pretty easy for Brett Hearn, just a walk in the park. He's probably thinking right now already of tomorrow's Miller 300 race. He's already got a 15 car length lead over second place runner Matt Quinn.
One of the things that the dirt organization is already working on, and something that we can maybe expect during the course of the offseason this winter, is to try to equalize the rules in this 358 division. There are several tracks in the Northeast that run 358 formula modifieds, but the formulas from track to track seem to have been different over the course of the years. For example, there's Mike Rickey in the 14J, where he runs at the Orange County Fair Speedway, where Brett Hearn also runs in this class. They're allowed more goodies than they are allowed at, say, the Central Pennsylvania circuit of Big Diamond and Grandview, or the Western New York, Eastern Ontario circuit of Merrittville and Ransomville. So you've got drivers with an edge that really shows when they meet here on the Moody Mile. That's something that the rule makers have already committed during this week's discussions here at Syracuse in the pit side to rectifying for years to come. Right now, Ricky sustaining a heck of a challenge from Alan Johnson, and also knocking on the back door of Alan, his brother Danny Johnson. That's a brand new car for Danny. He's only driven it a couple of times. He brought it out to Rolling Wheels earlier this year when they had a big 358 modified race. Did a super job with it, and right now he's knocking on the door of his brother in this, the National Auto Supply 358 Championship.
Quite a pedal there, Andy. 4th through 6th place between Ricky, Alan Johnson, and Danny Johnson.
Oh, we got a problem up in turn number 3. That's Stevie Boscher in the 27, the blue number 27. We didn't really see exactly what happened here. Perhaps we can get an instant replay. We can figure out what happened to Boscher's number 27. Let's take a look at it now. The cars are coming into turn 3. Boscher gets high and smacks the wall. Heavy damage there to the right front. Let's go down to Brian Spaid. He's with Sean Parker, Danny Johnson's crew chief.
Sean, we've got a restart now with Danny and Alan Johnson starting right next to each other. What is Danny telling you over the radio?
No, he said the car's working real good. He's just trying to wait to get by him on a restart, because that's really the only place we can get him, because the horsepower is really lacking a little.
He's going really fast through the pack after starting towards the rear.
Yeah, we had a little trouble in the heat race there. We had to start way back, and we just couldn't get going. We had a little trouble with the motor. Now we got it going. Now he says it's running real strong.
Indeed it is. Danny started way back in 13th position. He's up to 6th. He's not used to starting back in 13th at the mile, Tom, but an interesting starting procedure for today's event.
Yes, Andy, the rain washed out time trials on Thursday, and that put Danny Johnson way back to 13th after they had 3 heat races run for the heads-up starting positions. The heat winners were Brett Hearn, Kenny Tremont, and Matt Quinn. Matt Quinn getting the nod for the pole position, coming across with the fastest second lap in the qualifying, a time of 33.121 seconds around the Moody Mile at average speed of 108 miles per hour. Once again, Danny Johnson finishing 4th in his heat. That pushed him all the way back to 13th starting position in the grid. And Danny would like to start in the first couple rows, I'm sure, but I'm sure he'll work his way to the front before the times gone.
Also a pretty interesting story there, Sean Parker, one of the younger crew chiefs on the dirt circuit.
Yes, Andy, that's another interesting story. Sean, one of the youngest crew chiefs now. He's been the crew chief now for 2.5 years. So that's kind of an interesting story in itself. Sean picking up a lot of experience in 2 years, and especially here at the Moody Mile with Danny running in the top 10 in the small block race here at Syracuse.
And I think he's only about 17, perhaps 18 years old. And as we saw in that last interview with Brian Spaid, he's pretty easy on the eyes, or at least as the girls say. And speaking of being easy on the eyes, another one of the heartthrobs of the dirt circuit, Brett Hearn, he's leading this one. But right now, trouble up in turn number 4. Craig Ormsby in the 0 has come to a stop. Gaston has the yellow out. We're not yet halfway. Let's go down to Brian Spaid. He's with Charlie DeAngelis and the Brett Hearn pit crew.
Charlie, what's going on in the Brett Hearn number 6?
Well, we have the oil temperature's climbing. It's not a real big concern right now, but we're just keeping our eye on it. It's about 20 degrees, a little hotter than we normally run, but I think we'll be all right.
Is that affecting performance at all?
Not really, but if it gets too hot, then we're going to lose the motor.
What's the consensus right now with just over half the racing?
I feel pretty good about it right now. I don't think we'll have a problem. We got a good power plant, a Tony File motor, and I don't see any problems.
Okay, we've got 26 down and 24 to go, and now a big development down at pit road. Kenny Brightbill's number 44. He's been in the top 10 all day long. They've got the left rear off, and it appears from our spotters to be a torsion bar problem on the rear. The field is coming down for the green flag. Kenny Brightbill is going to lose a lap. Brett Hearn has got the green, and the field is back underway. A tough break for Kenny Brightbill and the Romeo number 44. He had been a contender for most of the afternoon, but he's sidelined now, and he's going to get a bad finish out of it because there's still 19 cars on the racetrack. That means Kenny Brightbill, if he's resigned for the afternoon, will end up in 20th position. Tough break for Brightbill. Let's go to the battle between second and third place runners. Kenny Tremont in the 89, he's in third. Matt Quinn in the 44. They've been dueling behind Hearn all day long. Hearn kind of on a Sunday afternoon ride, if you will, on a Saturday night afternoon here at the Moody Mile.
Well, Andy, this is a typical Saturday for Brett. He races at Orange County Fair Speedway weekly during the summer months at Orange County, and he's won the small block track championship on 4 occasions coming into this year. And I believe he won it this year. That'll give him 5 small block championships. And there's one of his Orange County regular competitors, Mike Rickey, in the 14J. He's holding on to a strong 3rd place, and he's leading. Correction, he's in 4th place. That's Mike Rickey, but he's holding strong ahead of Alan Johnson. Alan Johnson's familiar here at the Moody Mile, but in a big block. This one's the 31F, the Harrison ride. He runs 5th. Alan picking up 4 small block modified wins this year at Ransomville Speedway, totaling 7 big blocks, 11 wins for Alan this year. Like I said, Alan's more comfortable in a big block here at the Moody Mile. Last year he won the Miller 300, and the year before he finished 2nd here in the big 300 kilometer race for the modifieds. But he runs 5th here at the Moody Mile. Brett Hearn still pulling away of Matt Quinn for the lead. 10-car length lead for Hearn.
And an interesting coincidence here, the 14J, that's a number that Alan Johnson has made famous in the Northeast. That's the number of Mike Rickey's car today. Merely a coincidence, however. Rickey doing a nice job. There he is. He's running the high side, and that Rickey family has been loaned to run the high and wide outside of all the dirt tracks down in the southern east end of New York State for all of their career. Now let's go back a bit. Here's the battle for 7th and 8th. That's Mike Parati in the 29, the Kevin Cross car. Behind him, the Pat Barillo number 10. That's being driven by Donnie Wetmore. Pretty good race on the speedway there, Tommy.
Yeah, Donnie Wetmore, more familiar at tracks Fulton, Brewerton, and the New York Speedway, the outlaw tracks, but he comes to the Moody Mile, a dirt sanctioned event. He wants to take on the top dirt regulars in the Northeast. He's running strong behind the Kevin Cross car of Mike Parati.
And the 10, Pat Barillo owns that car. Donnie Wetmore only drives that car on occasion. They debuted that car new here last year at Syracuse, Super Dirt Week 89. Wetmore drove the car about 4 or 5 times this last season, most often at the Thursday night specials at the Can-Am International Speedway up in Lafargeville, New York. Wetmore won 2 of those Thursday night specials, got protested and torn down on one occasion, but survived the protest and was still awarded the victory. Jimmy Johnson drove the Barillo car a couple of Saturday nights at Lafargeville and got himself 1 win behind the wheel of that number 10. So it's a very potent car. The 10 car, the Barillo family has been fielding race cars for a number of years, and they've got a long lineage. Pat Barillo, a 2nd or 3rd generation car owner, if you will, has now carried on the family tradition, and he's got that car in fine form. And right now, his driver, Donnie Wetmore, dogging number 29 of Mike Parati. Meanwhile, behind Wetmore, that's Chris Tuthill, who's doing a super job in the 7M, and we've been calling him the $5 million man this week. Well, we've got a pass, or attempted a pass there on the racetrack. Brothers Allen and Danny Johnson are battling each other back and forth. Getting back to that Tuthill story, we've been calling him the $7 million or $5 million man all week long here at Orange County. His father, a few months ago, won the New York State Lottery for the grand total of $5 million. They've put most of that money into the racing effort, and it's really showing a marked improvement by the way the car has run here in the National Auto Supply 358 Championship, and also in the Miller 300 qualifying for the modifieds as well. Chris Tuthill impressing a lot of people this week, Tom.
Yeah, I'm sure Chris Tuthill, not familiar too much with the Moody Mile here, but he's putting on a good show. I'm sure the hard and rough track conditions are what he is used to, but he'll be getting used to it. I'm sure he'll be here in years to come.
Let's go back to that battle for fourth and fifth position. That's Alan Johnson in 30, Danny Johnson, brother Danny Johnson, in the 28. That's the battle for fifth and sixth. I stand corrected. That's the battle that most of the people are keeping their eye on in the grandstand as well, because Danny Johnson has been the guy who, to be perfectly honest with you, has made most of the passes. This has been pretty much a single file affair, surprisingly so. In years gone by, we've seen the 320, 358 modifieds in this National Auto Supply Championship put on the real show of the weekend. But right now, this is pretty much a single file affair. Danny Johnson has been the man who most people have kept their eye on. But right now, Danny's gotten up to sixth position and is kind of stalled here between or behind brother Allen. And Tom, you cover the Canandaigua Fairgrounds Speedway on a regular basis. You get to see these two guys battle each and every Saturday night. Yeah, this is a typical battle that Canandaigua fans will see every Saturday night at the Ontario County Fairgrounds. Sometimes Allen's leading, sometimes Danny's leading, but whatever position they're in, Bob McCready's sure to follow. And they've been running 1-2 most of the year at Canandaigua. This is not too unfamiliar for the fans watching, except for the car that Allen's in. Like you mentioned before, the Mike Rickey car is the 14J scored in this race, but Alan Johnson showing that the 30F is quite capable of putting on a show for all the fans here. And ironically, Alan Johnson does have a 358 modified of his own. I should say the Connolly LaForce 14J team has a 358 modified of their own. They run every Friday night at the Ransomville Speedway. Tom, you mentioned earlier that they had won 4 features this year at Ransomville, but the rules at Ransomville are pretty restrictive. Remember, we were talking about the different rules, and they just didn't feel that their 358 that qualifies for Ransomville's rules would be competitive here on the mile. Yes, Alan talked all year. He doesn't mind racing the 358 modified at Ransomville, but he just doesn't feel he has the power for the big mile. Ransomville Speedway is just shy of a half-mile track out there in western New York, but he felt that the power just wouldn't be put to the track in this type of race here at the Moody Mile. There's Tuthill, who has now managed to get by both Parati and the Brillo number 10 that's being driven by Wetmore today. Chris Tuthill doing a heck of a job. Tuthill broke in the 320 division. It used to be a 320 modified formula. Now it's up to 358 cubic inches. He broke in this class, about 5 or 6 years ago down at the Orange County Fair Speedway. Had a fair degree of success in this class. Has moved in and out of the big block division on occasions in years gone by. His problem in years gone by has really been money. This is an expensive class of cars to compete in with the small block modified, as well as the money in the big block modifieds. Now his team, his family has the money to be able to go racing, and he sure has shown that he knows how to get the job done. And speaking of getting the job done, here's Brett Hearn now with 38 laps in the record book. Brett Hearn just motoring away from the field. And we saw earlier today Sammy Swindell, who's kind of the fair-haired bad boy of the world of outlaws, run away with that show after he'd gotten by. Whoa, here we got problems up in turn number 3. Fritzy Upright is now coasting to a stop in turn number 4. We've got now 40 laps in the record book. There'll be 10 to go. Let's go to Brian Spaid. He's down in the pits with Casey Goey in the Quinn number 44. Let's see if they can catch our leader, Brett Hearn, today.
Casey, you know
know Brett Hearn is losing oil pressure right now, and what does Matt have to say about it? Have you communicated it to him?
Well, we've let him know that Brett is having oil pressure problems. Right now, we're trying to keep our tires as good a shape as possible towards the end of the race. I don't know if we got enough left for him or not. We'll have to wait and see.
So basically, it's just you're just going to hold back then and see if Brett breaks.
Exactly. We're going to take it easy and try and save it, stay ahead of third.
Interesting strategy there. Waiting for Brett Hearn to drop out so you can win is a little like waiting for Mike Tyson to get tired from hitting you so much. Brett Hearn has been the model of consistency all year long, Tom. He doesn't drop out of many races.
No, in fact, Brett, sometimes he doesn't have the car running to perfection like he'd like, but he'll stick it in there and finish in the top 5. He's really consistent, not only a winner, but a top 5 competitor all year round.
And an oil cooler that's not cooling the oil as much as you'd like really isn't that much of a problem. Remember, these cars didn't even have oil coolers until a couple of years ago. It's a fairly recent development in modified racing. So while it's an important function of a race car, it's certainly not a life or death situation. Right now, I think Quinton knows that second place is about the best he can do, and he's concentrating on trying to stay right there. But of course, he can't talk to his crew, so they don't exactly know what his feelings are.
Andy, at the beginning of the race, or the first half of the race, we noticed there was a lot of passing, some guys going high, some going low, but as the afternoon sun starts setting behind the grandstand bleachers here, you can see the track started to get more slick, a little bit harder, and definitely more quicker. There's a bigger gap between all the cars now. Brett Hearn, after just one lap on the restart, jumping out to a 10-car length advantage over second place runner Quinn.
Okay, we got 7 laps to go. Let's develop the top 10. Brett Hearn, of course, is leading. Matt Quinn is second. Kenny Tremont is third, and Mike Rickey is fourth. Alan Johnson, who was running fifth, is now slowed and pulled to the infield. There's motor problems apparently on the F30. That puts Danny Johnson up to 5th place. Chris Tuttle is 6th now. Mike Perotti is 7th. Donnie Wetmore is 8th, but he's being challenged right now by Kyle Rock, a Plattsburgh runner. Kyle Rock is doing a heck of a job. Speaking of a heck of a job, Kevin Collins, who had that wheel fall off back very early in this event, has put the wheel back on. He went back to the back of the pack, and he's now got that car up into the top 10. Kevin Collins running 10th. 5 laps to go, though. Brett Hearn comfortably in front. The battle right now is for second between Quinn and Kenny Tremont in the Matson number 89.
Interesting to look at the top 3. That's the way they started the race. The 3 heat winners from Saturday afternoon. Brett Hearn leading. 2 lap sign from the starter. Once again, Hearn leading with
Matt Quinn second. Matt Quinn is obviously only about 20 or 25 car lengths behind. He's not going to be able to close it up here with only 3/4 of a lap left in the Moody Mile. Brett Hearn, this is going to be an easy win for him. Much like Swindell's win ended up being in the first race. You can see Brett Hearn driving to the high side around the holes. He's not even sliding the car, and he's still able to keep a pretty good distance over second place Matt Quinn. Kenny Tremont will have to settle for third. The white flag is out from Gaston Salvis, and the crowd has kind of resigned itself to the fact that Brett Hearn's going to win this one. They're sitting on their hands. They're not cheering. This has not been what I would consider the most exciting event for the 358 modifieds down.
Coming on the heels of the sprint race, I'm sure the fans, they got all their excitement booing Swindell and Victor Lane. It'll be interesting to see how they greet Brett Hearn, his second small block victory in less than 24 hours, winning the night before Rolling Wheels, the 100-lapper there at the Petrosi track. And here's the checker flag from the starter, and that's Brett Hearn's second 358 National Auto Supply Championship, second straight here at the Moody Mile, and third overall.
See, even the crew isn't that excited. Just another day of work. Brett Hearn's been the dominating force on the dirt circuit this year, really in both the big block and the small block classes. He kind of stays home in the small block division on Saturday nights at his Orange County Fair Speedway, where he's won, I think, 24 or 23 races this year, about half in the big blocks, half in the small blocks. An incredible season. He's the point leader in the Mr. Dirt points. He's the point leader in the Asphalt Series points, and he's the point leader in the Skoal Super Dirt Series. Brett Hearn doing a heck of a job, and his 1990 season isn't over yet. The big one on his horizon, of course, is tomorrow, the Miller 300. He's one of the favorites in that one as well. But this is a pretty nice afternoon's work for Brett Hearn. His paycheck for this one, $12,100. Matt Quinn for second will get $7,500. Kenny Tremont in third place is going to earn $4,350. Danny Johnson ended up in fourth. That gives a $2,500 payday for Danny. In fifth place, Mike Rickey, $1,500. Let's go down to Brian Spaid with our happy winner in victory lane.
Brett,
right here.
Brett, congratulations on your win today. Is this a good omen for Syracuse or for tomorrow?
Well, I hope so. I'd like it. I would like it to be. I'll tell you, it's a good tune-up anyway. We got a good race car, and if we can go out there and do the same thing with the big block, we'll be in good shape.
What was the problem with the oil pressure?
Well, it was an oil temperature problem. We had a problem with the oil temperature. It's a wet sump pan 358, like they all are, but for some reason it makes a lot of oil temperature, and when it gets about 360, you start to worry a little bit.
Well, congratulations, 2 in a row.
Thank you.
What's that, guy?
A shot of the oil temperature gauge on Brett Hearn's car number 6. It's marked at 260. Word from the crew is they normally run at 250. If this had been the Miller High Life 300, no one knows how far Brett could have gone. Today, it was enough.
And there's a familiar face this year on the dirt circuit, Brett Hearn in Victory Lane. He's not going to get to savor this one for very long because he's got another race coming up, the big block modifieds in the A+ Mini Marts Winners Classic.